This episode of the HoneyDew is brought to you by Upstart. More on that later. Let's get into the show.
You're watching the HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler at your mom's house.
Welcome back to the HoneyDew, y'all. I'm Ryan Sickler. We're doing it over here at your mom's house. Follow me on all social media at Ryan Sickler. Website's ryansickler.com. I just want to say thank you to Tom Segura. I had such a great time going out there on the shows, meeting all you out there. Your mom's house fans are incredible. Some dates for me, August 1st through 3rd, I'll be at the House of Comedy in Minnesota. September 14th, I'll be at the Famous in Baltimore. All those tickets are on sale. They're on ryansickler.com right now. I just want to say, as always, thank you for the positive feedback. I see the messages, I see the comments, the likes, all of it, man, and I love it. I'm glad you love it. We're going to keep doing it. Let me give you some info. The website's thehoneydewpodcast.com. Yeah, I'm reading that shit. Merch, social media, everything you need to know about the HoneyDew is right there on thehoneydewpodcast.com. That's how you can follow it on social media, all that stuff. And if you're new to the do, what we do over here is we highlight the lowlights. These are the stories behind the storytellers. And today, I'm very excited to have this storyteller. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelsey Cook.
Hi.
Welcome to the HoneyDew, Kelsey.
Thank
That's
you.
nice. I heard them clapping
Mild
in there
smattering of applause. I love it. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm stoked that you're here. We've been trying to do this. We've been going back and forth, and I want to do your show. So
Yes.
before we get into anything, why don't you promote whatever you like, including your show, please?
Yeah. Okay. So the show that Ryan's talking about, I have a web series through All Things Comedy on YouTube called Wrists of Fury. So if you heard my episode on the crab feast back in the day, I talked about that my family and I are professional foosball players, and so now I have a web series. I know, normal sentence, where I have other stand-up comics come on the show, and I basically just like destroy them, and it's so fun.
Destroy them. Destroy them. Who's been the best so far? Who's put up the best fight?
Dean Del Rey was pretty good.
And what is pretty good? Like 3, 4?
Yeah, can get a few points on me. Yeah. We just did one with Steve Renazzisi, and that's going to come out in a few weeks. And he's the first person to actually beat me in one of the games. We play 3 games, but he beat me because like we do a second round where there's like handicaps to try and make it easier for them to beat me. Yeah,
I've seen you like blindfolded with, using the wrong
handcuffs
hand, all that
and
shit,
playing with my hands behind my back. So I had to play with my arms crossed, and Steve could score on either goal and it would count for a point for him.
I mean, yeah.
So if he could just go backward, and he could put it in his own goal and it was a point for him. So he's the only person so far to beat me in like a single game. I still beat him overall, but he was so fucking intense. It was hilarious. Like we were both out of our minds the whole episode. So that's definitely one of my favorites coming up. But the first one was with Jay Larson, and he was awesome to play. He was hilarious.
Well, you guys called me. Your producer called me and said, hey, can you give us some dirt on Jay? We could do like a bet or something. I was like, well, make him say Tom Brady's a cheater, and he refused to do that. I go, well, then plan B is he's got to show his tramp stamp tattoo, because Jay Larson has a tramp stamp tattoo. Yeah. And he hit me up after that.
Seriously does. And I feel like that's one of those like 2 truths and a lie thing. Like, does Jay Larson have a tramp stamp? And you'd be like, there's no fucking way that's true.
He does.
He has
a proud one.
It's like a gnome.
Yeah,
and
something.
Like mushrooms or something.
Go watch the episode. She whipped his ass after the show. He called me after that. I go, I didn't think I gave him any good ones. He goes, oh yeah, you did. And I wasn't saying Tom Brady's a cheater. I was like, so you showed that tramp stamp tattoo?
You should have just said Tom Brady was a cheater, because now that's on the internet forever of his tramp stamp. It's amazing. So.
And my makeup is on the internet forever. Oh. But look, I stand by what I did to you.
You painted my face like a tool shed.
You look fantastic.
Side of a barn.
I'll tell you what. I would have walked up to you in a bar and asked you out.
Fuck off. You would not have. You're like, who's this chick that just got out of jail? What's her deal? That was, so I also had another web series that's still on YouTube called Stand Ups Doing Makeup, where I had Ryan on, and we each had 10 minutes to do each other's makeup. And I always make the men look, like beautiful little.
I looked good.
You look like Jean-Benet Ramsey.
I did.
Glamorous. A little glitter. And then I always look like I got severely beaten and like left in a ditch. But
I'm starting to take that personally. I really thought I did a great job.
You guys have to go watch that. That's one of my favorites too. So yeah, go watch Wrist of Fury and Stand Up's Doing Makeup. And then my podcast is called Self-Helpless with 2 other co-hosts, Taylor Tomlinson and Delaney Fisher. They're amazing. So we basically like dive into a different self-help topic every week and decide if we think it works or if it's bullshit, and kind of have like a cynical take on it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked to have you here. I always ask the guests to come with some things they like to talk about. And of course you came with some stuff, but I do want to talk about this foosball thing because it's just the first time you said it on the Crab Feast, I honestly thought you said football, and I laughed, and you're like, why are you laughing? You flexed on me. And I was like, because I feel like you just said you and your family are professional football players. You're like, I said foosball. And I was like, okay.
Sorry, what now? Yeah.
And I, we talked about the history of you guys going in the early days when it was like you 4 plus 2 other people, and then you guys, and then it grew to whatever it's at now, which is big. But I have an appreciation for it because when I worked for UPS back in the day, shout out to UPS, Baltimore Hub, Primary 1, Joe Avenue. I was a driver's helper. God. And the original driver had hurt his back, so they hired this younger kid. I'm sure I said this on the episode before, but he was... I'm not in your league, but he was really good at foosball.
Good, yeah.
And he's the one that told me you're not allowed to, spin it like that. And it's just you're only allowed
lawnmower,
360, right?
Yep.
Up to
360.
So he would put it on his wrist, and he would bang or here, and he would roll it just so he could catch it here, and he could pass it, trap it off the wall. He was really good at it. So that's where I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to play.
Yeah, that's called a rollover shot, where you're basically like working the handle on your wrist, and then when you're ready to shoot, you roll it up and catch it. And I've seen guys like rip open their wrists during tournament weekends from doing that shot over and over. It's really fucking intense. I'm telling you guys. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real.
That wrist, you jerking off a lot or something? Nah, tourney weekend, man. Foosball tourney weekend. Just fuck that all up.
What a weird way to be jerking off if that was like rubbing this part of your skin off. You're just like making a little fire with it.
I wouldn't, if I was you, I would not be telling anybody what a weird way to jerk off is.
That's a good point. I don't know what the fuck you guys do.
You go check out her This Is Not Happening and her Crab Feast, and you tell me about masturbation.
Good point. The last person that should judge. Fucking shoving manicure tools in my pussy.
Actually, you should be the first one to judge after you did all the harm for us.
I really did. It's a cautionary tale.
I'll bet you. I would love to know when it's all said. Like, I always fantasize that when we die, there'll be somebody there with a checklist, and they'll be like, "Did I ever walk past any money?" Or, yeah, you walked over buried treasure, man. $250 million. Like, what? Where was that? All that shit. I would love to know how many girls heard your episode and you prevented that.
I prevented another pussy death.
Another ER
trip.
Just having to tell that story to a stranger in the ER is probably one of the worst parts.
The
after
doctor,
the swelling and the pain and shit.
My old Christian doctor, my mom.
Christian.
So Christian. That Steve from Blue's Clues energy, just like not equipped to deal with whatever I was going through. But I don't think I was able to say this on the Crab Feast because I don't think it had happened yet, but a little update on the manicure tool. When I went back home, my mom was moving like a year ago, and I went back home and I looked in the bathroom closet, still there.
Nuh-uh.
The relaxer was still there. So get this, I was like, dude, I can't believe this is still here. This is so funny. And the next day I went and I looked in the bathroom closet again to get like a washcloth, and it was gone. And I went up to my mom. I was like, hey, like, what did you do? I just saw that box over there. And she's like, oh, I made a trip to Goodwill. And so I donated that. And I was like, what? I was like, don't you remember what I did with that? And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot that was in there. And so I just love that somewhere in Spokane, Washington, in a Goodwill is a legendary manicure tool that's been inside my body. I just feel like it's like Jumanji, where it like keeps washing up on the shore, and it's like you hear like the drums when you go to Goodwill, like it's fucking here.
It's like on some bargain bin shelf next to an old typewriter and shit. Like, what the fuck's this?
It's like a VHS of Batman Begins or whatever. Like, I just feel like it will never die.
If someone in Spokane, Washington can find that fucking thing and take a picture of that and send it to us, we'll figure out something to do for you. I promise you
that's the real treasure hunt.
I will promise you that.
Find that, man.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say for old time's sake, you put a lambskin condom on it and went at it just for nostalgia.
A little Euro situation. No, I did not. That will never enter my body. Ever.
All right. So you have a very interesting family. Let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Spokane, Washington.
All right.
Little Spokompton. It was the meth capital of America for a while.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty shady in parts, but I mean, I love it. I love being from there, but I do have some like very white trash roots for sure.
I've been there.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I liked it. I love Washington. I love Seattle.
Me too.
I just love
right?
it. It's great up there.
Yeah.
So your family, were your parents already into foosball when you were born? Like, and
that's how they met.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
I literally wouldn't exist if it weren't for foosball.
That is fucking amazing.
The saddest.
It runs so deep. It does.
The saddest reason to exist is from fucking foosball. It's really.
You are a human person. Because of foosball.
I shouldn't be alive.
Well, a lot of us are human people because of alcohol, so I guess foosball's not that fucking wild.
I did a joke about that on the Tonight Show where it's like, most people exist from like boxed wines. It's like, whatever, we're all kind of garbage, but foosball especially is a low point. But yeah, so they met playing in a foosball tournament, fell in love, had me and had my brother, and then they got divorced when I was 5. So foosball isn't, I think that's what we talked about in the crab feast, that's not like a lasting foundation.
I would say, yeah.
It's not enough to get you through to the finish line, but...
and at this point, I can't imagine. How many tables are at the tournament? Like 10? You can still yell 100. You can still yell over that, like, fuck you, Teresa! You can still yell all the way over, like, this fucking bitch right here. Coming for you!
Such a good foosball name. Oh, for sure.
I use it in my... You don't hear Teresa's anymore.
No,
When's the last time you met a new Teresa?
Oh, Teresa.
Teresa! Coming for you in that fucking forearm, bitch!
Oh my God, I love it. Just like press on nails. Teresa. That's like a receptionist name. Fucking Teresa.
Shout out to all the Teresas out there.
What's up? Shout out to Cindy Head. Can we bring back, we love Cindy Head. I get so many hashtag Cindy Heads in my comments now from doing the Crab Feast episodes. So fucking crazy. Yeah, come on, Cindy. Anyway.
Cindy
Head. So, yeah. So
your parents meet, they fall in love. Two children come out of this foosball love.
Yep. And then my brother and I, obviously we both still play now. But, so my parents...
But I'm sorry, let's also give you, I believe it's your mom in the Hall of Fame.
My mom is in the foosball Hall of Fame.
Let's give her some props for that.
What's
Hall
up?
of Fame. I'm not in the Hall of Fame or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. She's the author of the World Table Soccer Almanac with that foreword by Woody Harrelson. It's on Amazon. Check it out.
A great player?
He loves foosball. Yeah. So anyway,
gotta get him on.
She's amazing. Oh, I would die. I would love to have Woody Harrelson on. That would be cool. That's like a bucket list thing for sure.
Well, make it happen, people.
Yeah. So that's like my my foosball background with my parents, and then they got divorced. My dad actually met another woman with the same name as my mom, so left her for, which I just feel like that's like, just extra salt in the wound. Name? Kathy.
So he went from Kathy to Kathy?
Kathy to Kathy.
Spelled the same, and one with a C?
Both spelled the same. But one's with a Y, one's with an I guess. Right, technically a little different, but still Kathy to Kathy. And
Kathy.
Yeah.
I'm leaving you for Kathy.
What? Sort of Inception shit. So...
Hang on, Kathy. I'm talking to Kathy. Well, the car's running. I'm leaving you in the family. Was she a foosball player?
No. Not. I think basically polar opposite of my mom. I think my dad, my parents were together for 10 years. And then I think my dad just went the complete opposite direction. So he met her, left my mom for her. And my mom is like a bad bitch. Like, she is not to be crossed. And I remember being like 6 years old.
I just see her feel like she's like Clint Eastwood in Any Which Way But Loose, smoking a cigarette, driving at these underground foosball tournaments with you two in the back.
Get in, kids. Some fucking fruit roll-ups back there. Shut up.
She's a single mom and still in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's a lot of dedication to a lot of things right there. She is.
She's a bad bitch. She's awesome. So I remember They got divorced when I was 5. I remember being about 6, and this is before cell phones were a thing. It was just the home phone with the answering machine. My mom had made the answering machine message Alanis Morissette's "You Oughta Know." So anytime my dad called and it went to message, it would just be like, "And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away." And I
can't get to the phone right now. It's not fair. Playing at the tourney this weekend. Salt Lake City, table 6. Come down, see me, all quarterfinals.
I just love that's such like a petty, but
and then
like
your dad's got to sit there
move.
and wait for
He
all
has
that.
to wait the whole time.
Hey, just calling to see what's up.
And she left that on there for, I mean, that was like, I feel like a year at least.
A year of
was
that.
That was the answering machine message that you would get.
But everybody had to wait. Yeah, your grandma calls like, what the hell? Yeah.
Doctors, just, anybody that had to call and leave a message for any reason have to sit through Alanis Morissette. And my mom
we got the results from your daughter's vaginal experimentation. And if you could give us a call back, we're not going to call the house again and listen to that Alanis Morissette bullshit. Thank you.
Uncomfortable, but if you could let us know. Yeah. So just so vengeful. But I mean, rightly so. My mom,
So he cheated.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what the details I've gotten were. It does sound like he had started up a whole other thing.
I mean, this is what I do hear about a lot of foosball players.
Shady biz.
Yeah.
Those active wrists.
Yeah, active wrists.
Can't keep them at home, man. Gotta
keep
get out
out
there.
of your pants, man. Putting them everywhere else.
Oh yeah. So yeah. My mom was like rightfully very, very. She was destroyed. It was horrible. And then I remember also very early on when I had started to go to my dad and stepmom's new house. They sat me down and they were like, "Okay, you're going to call this woman Mama Kathy." Like, they didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to call her mom, but they felt like she was too much of a person in my life to just call her by her first name. So they made me and my brother call her Mama Kathy, which is the grossest, like, Handmaid's Tale, weird ass.
It is weird.
Like, Amish shit. Like, it just, I remember, but you're so young. I was 6, and I just remember thinking, like, that's so weird. And I called her that for like 10 years.
Mama Kathy.
Mama Kathy.
Not just Kathy.
Right? Which is so, like, that's so fucked up. She for sure should have just been Kathy to me. She's a stranger.
Or Mrs. Kathy.
Yes,
or Miss Kathy.
She's a stranger to me.
Or even stepmom is better than Mama Kathy.
Mama Kathy. Doesn't that just make you want to, like, unzip your skin and crawl out of it?
If I was walking through the fucking store and I heard somebody go, Mama Kathy, I'm like, let's get away from these fucking kids right here, man.
It's like commune. Yeah, it sounds very like cult leader to me.
Yeah.
Mama Kathy. Ugh. So I just remember being like, yeah, there's something weird about this. And so I grew up then.
But how does she feel about that?
Well,
because I would have been stepping in like, yeah, don't call me that.
Oh no, she wanted that.
What?
Yeah, that was part of it, was like, she wanted to try to feel like she was an important person in our lives.
How'd your dad feel about that? Did you ever talk to him about that? Like, I don't want to call her that?
I mean, later in life, I did get to a point where I was like, hey, I'm not going to call her that anymore. I should have never had to call her that in the first place. Like, she is Kathy to me. She's a woman that came into my life, but she's not my mom.
Right.
I'd have no, anything like that with her. But yeah, so going back and forth between my dad and stepmom's house and my mom's house were so night and day, because my dad had married this like very strict Catholic woman. And
Kathy was Catholic.
Kathy was Catholic.
How about that?
Hey-o.
How about that?
And then my mom was very kind of like
foosball or
liberal.
not.
Yeah, like liberal, hippy dippy a little bit, where I had like scheduled the loss of my virginity with my mom. Like, I told her, I was like, hey, like, can you go to the movies on Saturday? Because Adam and I would like to have
got here
sex.
in my day runner. I'd like to have some sex. If you could go see Police Academy 4, we'll pay for that.
Police Academy 4. Yeah.
Did your mom, your mom knew what you were planning to do? You were that up front?
That up front. And she was like, great, like, no problem. Just, use protection. I was on the pill at the time too, but she was like,
make sure it's not latex.
Make sure it's not latex. Yep.
You had the relationship with your mom where you said, this weekend I'm going to lose my virginity.
Yeah. Yep.
Will you talk to me about that, please? For real? Like,
I don't know. I don't know if it was because I was going back and forth between such like polar opposite environments that it pushed my relationship with my mom to be so much more
how old were
almost
you?
like friends. I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. She always made me feel like I could talk to her about anything. She was the type of parent that was like, I think maybe once I was around 16, she's like, look, I know that some of your friends are probably going to start drinking soon. I just want you to know that if you want to do that, please just like be safe and let me know. Like, don't feel like you need to hide that from me. I would rather that like you had a beer here at home than sneak out and feel you need to go get blackout drunk somewhere that's not safe. So
I'm already thought about that. Like
with your daughter?
Yeah. Call me. I don't give a fuck if it's 4 a.m. I'm coming, or I'll put, if you're safe enough or 2 people more, I'll put you in an Uber or whatever, but do not fucking do anything stupid.
Exactly. Because I think when you I've seen friends who grew up with very, very, very strict parents, and I do feel like they went through such an intense, like rebellious stage that was, I mean, at times was like, fuck, like you could have gotten killed or been in prison or whatever. But because my mom never really made anything forbidden, I never had that psychology of like, oh, I got to do it, because it was just available to me. So it wasn't as tempting.
Because she's not telling you, don't do this.
Yeah.
She's just saying, be smart about it. And if this is going to happen, I'd rather you do it this way than this way.
Yeah. We grew up in our kitchen. There was like a candy drawer where she would just keep like junk food in there, chocolate or fruit snacks or whatever. And it was always there. So my brother and I just learned on our own how to have like a healthy relationship with it, because it wasn't, okay, you get 1 piece of candy a week and don't, if you try and sneak it, you'll be grounded. And then we'd have our friends come over that came from houses like that. They would go to the candy drawer. They would eat everything, feel sick, feel guilty, feel ashamed, because to them it was forbidden and they hadn't learned how to make their own relationship with it. So I think my mom parenting like that kind of bled into all other parts of my life and didn't make me feel like I had to go crazy. So
you planned this with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then do you tell him, I'm going to tell my mom?
Yeah.
And is he like, what the fuck?
I remember he was like, what? But I mean, if you were a friend of mine, or, if you became a boyfriend or whatever, you learned that about my mom so quickly. And I think a lot of my friends, especially growing up, really appreciated that about my mom, that was like the cool house, is that you could go there.
Condoms are in the medicine cabinet. I'm off to the tourney. That's fucking insane to me in a great way. Like, I can't really. Would you do this if you had a daughter? Would you be respectful enough to at least do the same?
Yeah, absolutely.
You would tell her, come to me and talk about that?
Yeah.
All right, so your boyfriend's like, wait, you're going to fucking tell your mom that we're going to have sex. You're going to ask her to leave her home so that we can...
we can bone.
Was he a virgin also?
Yeah.
So that we can lose our virginities. And your mom's like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to leave the house and do that. And was super supportive and make sure you use protection and all that.
Yep.
I can't even.
But like I said to you,
I've never heard this before. Have you? Have you ever heard anybody else? Have you ever met a friend of yours, a girlfriend that had that relationship?
No, I haven't.
Holy shit, that is rare.
I know, but like I told you before we started recording, I'm like a Lisa Simpson. Like I'm very, I don't know how much of it was.
Sax?
Huh?
You played a sax?
I was a 8th grade gold band flute player though.
Of course you were.
Tell you that, a little flautist. But yeah, I don't know how much of that was nature versus nurture, like my mom being like, I trust you to do your own thing, and also me just maybe naturally being more like responsible or whatever it was. But yeah, for me, that parenting style really worked, and yeah.
So what did your mom go do while you guys were losing your virginities?
She just went to the movies. I think she honestly
all I could think about was what is going on back at my fucking house right now.
She's just under the bed like, let me know if you guys need lube or anything. Just let me know. Need refreshments. I got a Capri Sun down here. Just let me know if I can pass something off. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fantastic. I think that's really healthy, to be honest with you. Okay, so what is the polar opposite happening in a dad? What is it like at dad's place?
So at my dad's place, it was so strict. It was, I'm
sorry to interrupt. Are you and your brother both going together when you go? Okay, back and forth same time.
He's 5 years younger than me, but we would go together. And then my dad's place was so strict that it was like you couldn't even talk on the phone in your room, because I think they knew that we would be like talking shit about them to either our friends or to our mom. So it was like, if you wanted to have a phone call, you had to like be in the living room in like a common area. So again, very Handmaid's Tale, like just so very, very controlling and strict.
Is this all Mama Kathy, or is this dad on board, or is dad just said, whatever, fuck it?
I think it was my stepmom for the most part, and then my dad kind of just like went with whatever she said. And she's definitely loosened up as she's gotten older, but there was a long period of time there where it was...
So phone calls were in the living room. What other rules do you remember? So controlling.
Like I'd have friends over. We didn't have very much money growing up, and so I feel like a lot of our meals were like bunker food. Like it was like a lot of like canned vegetables, like canned green beans and stuff. And because I had a stepsister and a half brother as well, so they were feeding 4 kids. And
Mama Kathy had a son.
She had a daughter, and then my dad and her had a son together.
Okay.
Anyway,
so now there's 4 kids.
4 kids.
Over there. Okay.
Yeah. And so when, if I ever like dared to have a friend over, which was I just always felt so uncomfortable to have anybody in that house. But if I had friends over, I remember even now my friends will be like, oh my God, I remember going to that house and your stepmom making me like finish my canned green beans.
My baked beans out of a can and shit. Like, God damn.
Like they were very controlled. Like you have to clean your plate. Definitely like you couldn't ever have dessert if you hadn't fully cleaned your plate. And there's so much psychology now that shows that forcing kids to clean their plate often leads to like eating disorders and trouble with having like a healthy relationship with food, because you shouldn't be told to like be forced to eat if you don't want to eat anymore, type of a thing. But anyway, just weird, just very strict, very religious. So no swearing, no watching movies that were like, I think higher than PG or PG-13.
Even when you're in high school and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it was very oppressive. And then I'd go to my mom's and I would just like be saying like, fuck with her every other word. I was just always going back and forth between 2 totally opposite environments. And then when I was 16, I finally got a car. So I was a little bit more in control of like going back and forth. And I remember one day my stepmom said something to me in the kitchen and just rubbed me the wrong way. And it was like 10 years of oppression just like fucking came out. And I was like, you are such like a hypocritical whore. You're Catholic and you broke a vow. Like you like broke one of your like Catholic. Oh my God. Oh. Your guys in your sound studio are like losing their shit. But
I mean, you came out of the gate with
I came out swinging. I mean, I just said, because one of the big things of Catholicism is like that you like won't cheat and you won't like commit adultery, all this stuff. And she was living this life based on that she had basically like pulled a man out of his marriage and all this stuff. And so I just like let her have it. And she immediately burst into tears and like ran out of the kitchen. And I got in my car and I drove off and I was like, fuck,
how good
yes.
Did that feel?
That was definitely like a defining moment of my life. I know on this podcast we talk about like lowlights and like highlighting them. And that was, 10 years of really feeling like I could never say anything to her. And just, I think having a car and knowing that I could like speak my piece, drop the mic, and then fucking
hit the gas.
Deuces out. Yeah, that felt really good.
Yeah.
And she and I actually have like a fine relationship now. Like we're friendly, everything's fine. But back then when she was being really, really controlling, she just was pushing her religion and her ways on us so hard. And to me, it seemed like she was overcompensating because she knew she had sinned or whatever,
Sure. I'll make up for it in these children.
Yeah, it's always a good move. Yeah.
That's always healthy.
Yeah.
What was your conversation the first time you saw her again after that? Do you remember? Were you scared to see her again, or were you just like...
I kind of feel like I had some big dick confidence after that. Like I was like, like I said that, so there's kind of nothing I should be afraid of now around her. I can't remember if I apologized or if she apologized, but it was... nothing was ever the same after that.
Were you being made to go to church on Sundays when you were there?
Yeah, and my mom would like pull me aside before she would drop me off there and go like basically like cover your ears with your hands, like say la 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 for the 2-hour mass. Don't listen to anything they say. They're hypocrites. They're blah blah blah. All this stuff. You grew up Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So she was which is a
The
whole
secret is to hum during it. Because it sounds religious, but it blocks out. You're like,
just a low tone, like a dog whistle. Just,
you just do that the whole time. Like, he's really into this.
He's
You're like,
really
I'm just
feeling the
blocking this
spirit.
shit out.
Spirit's really with him today. Look at this young man.
How long is this motherfucking mess? I don't know if I can hum for
I got
now.
another 98 minutes.
So I'm going to get up and get that cookie and some wine. But
That's so funny. Yeah, so I would go into those services.
That's what I want to ask you. So I grew up like Catholic, obviously, and one of my grandmother's sisters was a nun, and anytime she would come to church, you were not allowed to. The proper procedure is if you want communion and wine, all that, you have to go to confession first, which we never ever did. We would just go up and, you want to get up and walk. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, God, get that blood flow back.
The proper one, she was like, you confess, then you go. So we would always have to be like, I fucking cussed a couple times. I've been speeding, just bullshit.
I didn't come to a full stop and stop sign. I'm sorry. Like when you go to traffic things.
Did they make you go do that too?
No.
Was she that staunch? Was Sunday school also, or was it just church?
It was just church. And it's weird to go to church over and over when like you are not Catholic. I mean, like I was not part of that. I didn't go through communion or whatever. I was there just kind of the whole time being like, this feels like bullshit and I wish I didn't have to be here. So that was like a weird, almost social experiment to just be forced to do that for however many years and not actually identify with any of it. So yeah, that was the church part of it.
What was your relationship like with your dad though?
My relationship with my dad, I resented him a lot during those 10 years because his choice to leave my mom for another woman completely changed mine and my brother's life forever. Rather than growing up in just like a, I don't know, typical one household, we had to be shuttled back and forth every other day for over a decade. And that was awful. Like no kid wants to do that. And
how far was the actual distance between mom and dad?
Like 30 minutes, not like horrible, but just when you're doing that over and over, it gets you kind of like, I wish I could just go home after school and not have to like get picked up by my dad, driven 30 minutes away, eat dinner with him, then have my mom pick me up, drive me 30 minutes back. Like you just feel like pawns, you're just being moved. Yeah, you do.
Feel like a motherfucking foosball.
I did feel like a foosball. Look at you bringing it back. I love it. Nice full circle there. Yeah. So I resented him, and my mom would also tell me like, your dad is so different than the man I married. Like the guy who I was with is so different than the guy who's now with this woman, and like the guy that you're seeing day to day, that's not who I married.
So who was he when she married him? What would she tell you? Like
he'd like swear and drink, and they met in a foosball tournament. So I would assume he was a little bit more like looser of a guy. But when he married my stepmom, the guy that I had really seen over and over was like more strict and uptight. And
so he did stop cussing and everything. Did you
around us. Yeah. I mean, I never ever saw him. He acted very much like this church man. And
but you never saw, he never slipped and cussed when she wasn't around in front of you guys?
No.
Like you never had those, he never stepped out for a minute and had those cool moments with you, like let's go fucking tear it up, or none of that?
No, I mean he was still a good dad. Like he's always very supportive, and we'd like shoot hoops together and do stuff like that. But who he was on a personality level, I just felt like I don't really know who you are. It felt like there was this disconnect there. And then
like he was being someone else wanted him to be instead of who he really was.
Yeah. That was my perception at least. And then I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 20, and he had seen a couple of my clips and was very did not approve.
I would imagine. How about that? This is not happening.
Oh my God. That's the only one that he still has not seen, because it is just so sexual and graphic. I don't need my dad to hear a story about me trying to masturbate, and that's a lot. So, but in the beginning, I do feel like you're maybe extra dirty in the beginning. Do you feel like you were extra dirty?
Yeah. I also didn't realize how much I cussed until I recorded myself, and I'm like, I'm saying fuck every other word. I didn't know I spoke like that.
Right.
You get so fucking used to yourself, whoops, that you don't fucking realize you do it. And that's what I was doing it a lot. I was like, oh, okay. And also, the other thing I find too, when I'm doing new material, I tend to cuss more in the beginning before I iron it out and figure out my words.
It's like you're giving yourself a padding, like a confidence padding. So he had seen some early clips of mine and was like, he just did not approve. Really didn't think I should be doing comedy. I was going to be a high school math teacher, and I went such a different direction. He's like, why? I don't see why you wouldn't just do math. Now you're out here like swearing and doing those things. So he made me feel really badly for that and didn't really support me in the beginning. But at the same time that I was doing that, he had started to do slam poetry.
Wait.
I'm telling you guys, my life is a circus. My parents are clowns.
Your dad picked up slam poetry. How does one just, how old was he, first of all? 40s?
Yeah,
30s,
like
40s?
mid 40s, late 40s.
That's my age right now, mid 40s.
You feel like dabbling in
all
some finger snaps?
All of a sudden, I just fucking step up
Get
and
a little
start.
snappy. Well, he had written poetry before. My grandpa was a poet. So like there was some poetry in his life, but to actually go out on stage and perform it is very different. And so he started to do that.
Wait, not just like coffee houses and shit. He was going on.
My dad was like the regional champion. like 2 years ago, my dad was not only the regional champion up in Washington, but then he competed at the national level down in southern
poetry?
Yeah, down in, I think it was in like San Jose area or something like that. But yeah, he's really good. I mean, he's honestly like very, very good. But his thing,
he's really good at foosball.
Yep.
He's really good at slam poetry.
Yeah, international yo-yo man.
What?
International yo-yo man. That was like his career for a while.
He's a international yo-yo man.
Yeah.
Meaning what? He'd do all that walk the dog tricks and all that, like better than anybody in the world.
Yeah, he would go to like he'd go to like Germany and do competitions.
Why
like
is your dad really good at weird shit, but not good at being a husband?
A little less time walking that dog. A little more time.
Yeah, no shit.
Doing the dishes. No, I mean.
So before foosball, all right, come on, let's go back. You said him before. I feel like you're about to say him before the yo-yo thing, or there was something else too.
Well, so his main career has always been that he's a professional trumpet player. So he's a professional musician. Yeah, that's his main thing. But on the side, there's always been like him pursuing a hobby until he's like a champion at it, like one of the best at it.
Is he like an OCD guy? Is he like that? Is that why?
I don't
obsess on it, and
maybe I don't know that he obsesses, but he's just really talented. Like he's very multi-talented, and I think once he starts to get into something, he's like, I want to see how far I can take this.
So in the way that we make a living at comedy, your dad made a living as a trumpet player?
Yes.
Like a session player or
40
studio
years.
musician?
Yeah.
Or
he plays in the symphony.
In the symphony?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
For 40 years
40
he's played?
years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
It is. Yeah. No,
that's impressive.
He's really incredible. So, anyway, there's so many weird hobbies, but what was I talking about?
You're talking about his weird ass hobbies.
But like which one specifically?
We were going to the
slam
yo-yo
poetry.
and slam poetry.
Yeah.
There's so many great ones.
Oh my God, where do we start? Yeah. So he was doing slam poetry, and some of them were very like, benign, like could be, I think they were published in like children's poetry books, like poems about animals falling in love and just
but how did
like
he
that.
Start? He just got up to an open mic one night?
Yeah.
Like, is that?
Yeah. Spokane has like a good poetry scene. So I know, very weird. But apparently not only was he doing that, but he had some poems that were like sex based and like comedy based. So he had written a poem about like what Dr. Seuss was like as like a real guy, and he did it in like Dr. Seuss rhyme, but it was about Dr. Seuss fucking his wife, like real life fucking his wife, and my dad would like stand on stage and like pantomime like spanking and stuff.
Wait,
so
Mama Kathy's not all up there protesting that?
No, she went with it, I guess. And again, this was a little bit later on, and I don't know if they were just that strict and weird for us kids, but so as I'm going on stage doing dick jokes, my dad is on stage doing these like sex poems and telling me that I can't do.
You got a hell of a family. I'm like,
so fucking weird. He is going on stage telling sex jokes and telling me that that I'm like wrong to do what I do. So at one point, maybe a couple years into him doing slam poetry, I ended up going to one of his shows, and I don't think he realized I was going to be there. And so I caught him. Like I saw him doing.
Did you just slip in the audience and like he didn't see you before the show or anything?
I don't think he was planning on me being there or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, he did the Dr. Seuss sex poem and I was paralyzed. I remember standing in the crowd watching him do it like there's no fucking way that my dad is like pantomiming Dr. Seuss having sex with his wife right now. I can't, like, that can't be my dad. And he's like murdering, by the way. Like,
I was going to ask, are people tearing it up?
Because he goes up and he looks like just this nice, like, 40-year-old bald white guy. Like, you would never look at him and think that he's going to say these things. Probably the same way people look at me. I look like people's granddaughter. I look like the girl next door. And so if I go up and talk about, like masturbating with a manicure tool, people are like, what? So he was like crushing, but I couldn't believe it was my dad. And so after he was done, he came over.
How long is the set?
Oh God, I don't know. Maybe 5 to 7 minutes, something like that. And
so this whole set is just that bit, right?
It was that bit and maybe one other thing, but he came up to me afterward and I was like, okay. I was like, well, that was really good. Like, you're really good at what you do.
I mean, the way you act like you were fucking her from behind looked authentic. Authentic. Maybe you could have walked a dog on her back next time with your yo-yo. Infuse a couple of your passions.
Oh my God, I'm so disturbed right now picturing that.
Practice on Miss Kathy's back.
Shut up. I'm gonna throw up everywhere. That is so upsetting, so horrifying. So I told him, I was like, that was really good. Like, you're obviously really good at this.
But it was good.
It was really good. It was really good. But I was like, but you can never, ever tell me again, like, what I should or shouldn't say on stage. And he was like, I know, you're right. Like, he just knew at that point that there was absolutely no way he could still try and enforce that with me. He knew
it's either I tell you what you can or can't say, or I got to give up this Dr. Seuss bit. I ain't giving up this Dr. Seuss bit.
I put in time, got to record an album.
I pulled a hamstring, act like reverse cowgirl up there, all right? I'm keeping this bit.
One fish, two fish up there. I got fucking green eggs and ham prop.
I had a threesome up there. Y'all saw it.
Oh my God. Anyway, so our relationship completely changed from that point on. Like, now he is truly the like biggest supporter of my comedy. He comes to all my shows when I'm in Spokane. So proud of me. He's seen me.
You got life because of foosball, and you got the best relationship with your dad because of slam poetry.
Oh my God, what is my life? I know.
Your life is
so weird. It's so
strangely beautiful. It really is. I mean,
it's very weird.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it's turned out great. Like, now I'm really happy, and I do have a great relationship with my dad. And, I will say, like, he's always been a really good dad in the way that I've been very fortunate to be, like, loved unconditionally by him. I've never felt like his love for me was ever shaky or anything like that. But it did take a long time for him to finally say to me, you deserved better. Like, he finally said, that was only like 2 or 3 years ago. He finally said to me, like, I'm sorry, you deserved better, in terms of having a dad that like maybe didn't choose a woman over the stability of his family, I guess, and his kids.
They're still together, you said, right?
Still together. Yeah. So that meant a lot to me, for him to finally admit like that sucks to put a kid through. But I will, like, he has always been so loving, and I'm very lucky to have him as a dad.
It's awesome he said that, because it validates everything you felt all those years.
Exactly.
And you're like, okay, yeah, I wasn't some fucking crazy kid out of my mind. Like, I did know what I was feeling. And also, he was feeling it too.
I know.
It just took him to talk about some Dr. Seuss pussy jokes to realize, you know what? This would have been a lot of fun to do this shit 20 years ago.
I know. I think he was in denial for a long time that what he did fucked us up. Because it was kind of like, well, I still love them. So I can't be fucking them up too much if I'm still there for them and love them. It's like, yeah, but it's more than that. And I think it just took him a long time to really finally admit, like, yeah, like what I put you through was not what you deserved. So.
And are you close with your brother, and did he have the same exact experience you did? And there's 5 years that's almost enough of a gap to not remember everything when you're that young. And
they split up when he was 6 months old. My dad left when he was 6 months old.
I was wondering if he was about a year, because you said you were 6. So I was curious.
Yeah, I was 5.5 and my brother was 6 months old. So
that's all he's ever known is
exactly. Which, I mean, I don't want to say in a way that's easier, because I don't know his experience compared to mine, but you go back to my mom having Alanis Morissette, like that's a whole other level of fucked up that he didn't even know about that. When you're leaving her with a 6-month-old child, you're going to make a 6-month-old child go back and forth between these households. I mean, like that's just so, I mean, my mom's like the strongest woman I know. That's so hard to put somebody through. So yeah, my brother's like so well adjusted and fine, but yeah, it's not easy for anybody to go back and forth like that. But yeah.
Now, do your parents get along now?
I mean, they're civil. Like I'm getting married in 3 weeks, so they're gonna have to be around each other, and like they're fine. But I mean, they're not gonna like go hang out.
Have they ever come to a show at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They sit together?
No. Yeah. I mean, my mom doesn't like him or anything like that. You know what I mean? They're not chummy, but they can communicate and like not get into a fight or anything.
And now a quick break to tell you about our sponsor, Upstart. As most of us have found out the hard way, getting into debt is easy, getting out is hard, especially if your FICO score isn't great. Thankfully, now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that knows you're more than just your credit score and offers smarter interest rates to help you pay off high-interest credit card debt. Look, when I was in college, I got a credit card. I couldn't pay it. I paid rent. I rang that thing up. It was in the 40 grand probably. But the one thing I did do was pay that monthly. I paid way too much money, but I paid that monthly, kept that score up. I wish I would have had Upstart back then. I would have done it way differently. I would have saved a lot more money and been out of debt a lot quicker than I was, all right? Because Upstart goes beyond the traditional FICO score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter interest rate. Upstart believes you're more than just your credit score. They believe in you, and they understand that. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate in just a few minutes without affecting your credit score. The best part, once the loan is approved, most people get their funds the very next business day. The next day! Over 200,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards, student loans, fund their wedding, or to make a large purchase. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart is ranked number one in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot, and hurry to upstart.com/honeydew, all right? Upstart.com/honeydew. to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes. It won't affect your credit. That's upstart.com/honeydew. Now back to the show. So you're getting married in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Has your fiance met the family and everything? And how's that?
Oh, yeah. That was the first time he met my mom. My mom tried to give him a foosball lesson. It was very intimidating. He was like, what the fuck am I walking into? But yeah, we met my mom at a saloon in Seattle, and she tried to teach him your mom. Foosball. Yeah, I mean, there's really a rough introduction to my family. Just like, all right, Mira, this is who I am. Let me show you how to do a pole shot and see if you make the cut.
A pole shot?
Pole shot,
pole?
Yeah.
Does he know the story about losing your virginity and your mom? Uh-huh. I would talk to you. If I was your fiance, I would be like, you really let her do that? And you were cool with that?
Oh, yeah. No,
she's going to be grandma one day. So if grandma was that loose with her kids, going to be super loose with the fucking grandkids. I'll be, y'all ain't going to grandma's house. Not till you're at least 22.
Grandma's going to let you drive when you're 7. Yeah. Can't let you over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, he is well acquainted with my crazy family. So he's in it. Yeah.
And how did you guys meet?
We met at an open mic where all successful relationships start.
Yeah.
But he's a comedian too.
So your child's going to exist because of comedy.
Oh, yeah. Got to keep it going. Got to keep this weird clown shit going.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was it like dating for you growing up?
So after Adam, who I lost my virginity to at my mom's house.
Would you say he's your first real boyfriend also?
He was my first real boyfriend, first love, first everything. So I was with him for 2 years, and that ended in a very I mean, we were obviously both really sad and so broken up, but it was we had just kind of grown apart. It was, I mean, when you're 19, that shit happens. So I don't feel like I really had any trauma or anything strange from that. It was a great relationship. I'm really so glad I could have it. But then my next boyfriend was kind of my college sweetheart, I guess, into
where'd you go to college?
Washington State University. So that lasted through the end of college into right out of college, and that relationship was something I'd never encountered anything like this, where it was kind of on and off for 2 years. And then once I finally got out of it, I got into therapy, and I told my therapist, like, hey, so I just got out of this relationship for like the 7th time or something like that. I need some help not going back, because I tend to always go back, and I'm just not sure like what this is.
Good for you. You
thanks.
Self-aware and went and did that?
Yeah.
'Cause you couldn't break that cycle?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I had a lot of relationships before that, but I'd had enough experience to go like, there's something weird about this. Like there's something not normal about this relationship and what I'm going through. And so she asked me to kind of describe him and describe the relationship. And within about like 30 seconds of talking about it, she was like, borderline personality disorder. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like I hadn't even heard of borderline. And so then she, plops open her big psychology book and starts reading off the criteria. And it was just like, check, check, check. Like he checked everything off. And I know I listened to the episode of the HoneyDew with Christina, and she talked about her mom having borderline. Yeah. And it's interesting because my fiance's dad has borderline. So
what are some of the checks?
So
what did you experience?
So if you have like a romantic relationship with somebody with borderline, they go through, like the main book about borderline is called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. So it's characterized by like kind of a constant push-pull, and like you're like walking on eggshells with them. So they're always swinging between like intense idealization, so making you feel like, oh my God, like you're God, like you can't do anything wrong, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, to swinging to total devaluation, like you're a piece of shit, with really no logic. There's like nothing really necessarily even triggering it. They say that people with borderline have, it's like an intense fear of abandonment, and also can have an intense fear of being smothered. So sometimes somebody with BPD is like just always swinging back and forth, trying to find like a safe space that they feel comfortable with, which is like, that's so impossible and so hard in a relationship day to day. And there, I mean, you guys, if you can look it up, I don't have like the whole list in front of me, and I never want to demonize anybody with BPD, because I know that there are people listening who have been diagnosed with it. We did 2 full episodes about it on our podcast, Self-Helpless, where we actually had one of our listeners call in who has BPD and talk about it. And that was like one of the most, 9 symptoms of BPD up there.
There you go.
Yeah, extreme emotional swings, explosive anger, chronic feelings of emptiness.
All the stuff you just said.
Yeah, shifting self-image, like impulsive self-destructive behavior. I feel like that was something I was seeing a lot with him.
Explosive anger, did you get that one?
Just, it was unlike anything, like I said, unlike anything I'd experienced before. And because there is that really intense swing of them making you feel like you're the best thing that's ever happened, it's hard to leave those relationships, because even when it ends, you remember it being that really like perfect time, and a lot of time they will try to get you back.
And also when you were trying to work on that, that's what you're trying to get back to.
Exactly. And a lot of people, if they haven't been in a relationship with somebody with BPD before, you assume it's you. You're just like, okay, well, I guess I just have to be more perfect. I have to be better so that I don't have him push me away again. And it was so tumultuous. And I remember like the first 2 months of being with him, everything seemed like it was going great. He seemed just so like Prince Charming. He actually asked me to like go to his brother's wedding. He was the best man in his brother's wedding. He asked me to come be his date, meet his whole family. And at the end of that trip, he was like, I just really see us being together for a really long time. Like really, really like intense, this close feeling of like, oh wow, this is like becoming really serious. And after I left the wedding, he like fell off the face of the earth. Like I didn't hear from him for like 10 days or something. What? And in that time, he had given me mono. He was like an immune carrier or something. And like I came down with mono. And so I didn't hear from him for 10 days. And then he came over to my apartment, and he just seemed so like spooked. And he was like, hey, like, I know you have mono, and like, sorry, but like I can't do this anymore.
Wait, he gave you mono and then broke it off.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, man. Brutal. Fucking brutal. Brutal. Yeah, man. He came over and
That is awful.
He walked in the door. I looked like death. I looked like the fucking crypt keeper. Like felt like I was swallowing a pack of knives. Like I looked like emaciated. I couldn't keep food down. I was so sick. Mono is truly the worst.
It wrecks you. I had a girlfriend in high school that got it, and I want to say 2 months, maybe a little longer. She was down.
Oh, people like have to drop out of school for a while when they have it. Yeah, it was horrible. So he came over, saw that I was in that condition, and was still like, I can't do this. Like I think I need like at least a break or something. And I was just so like blindsided. I was like, what? And so he left.
Listen, I know I gave you AIDS, but I can't do this shit anymore.
Look,
man.
I know.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? I mean, what are we really doing, Kelsey?
Can we really look at this honestly? Where do we see this going? Look, I know you have measles. I'm sorry, but we can't do this. So he left, and like a couple days later, once I had some more time to think about it, I ended up going over to his place and being like, hey, like I don't do like breaks. Like I don't know what this is, but I think we just need to break up then if you really like don't want to be with me. And it was like almost you could see this intense relief wash over him. Oh, and he was like,
he made you do it.
And then he was
with
like,
mono.
With mono.
What a fucking pussy.
With mono.
I would have coughed. I would have licked everything in their house.
Well, he gave it to me.
I know.
He was, yeah. So, and I remember him being like there was no even further discussion about it after that. He was just like, okay, well, don't be a stranger.
What? That's what he said.
Don't be a stranger. Literally 2 weeks before this, I had traveled to another state with him for his brother's wedding, and it was like this really, his whole family being like, don't fuck this one up, like she's a keeper, and like this so emotionally close, and just falling in love, like, oh my god, this is so great. Going from that to don't be a stranger, bitch. Like what? Who are you? What's your name? Who's this person God. I've never met? And so I remember just being so like,
don't be a stranger.
I will never
bitch.
forget that. I will never forget. Don't be a stranger.
Oh, that hurts.
Dude, like, you are a stranger to me right now. I don't know who this is. I was shattered. It was so much whiplash. I'd never experienced anything like that. And so then, I think like a few months went by, and we started dating again, and then we'd break up again, and then date again and break up again.
After that.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably maybe
that was the first one.
That was the first one, and I was so confused. I mean, I had never been with somebody like this, and I know Christina, when she's talking about when a parent has it, they're still the same characteristics, but with kids, it's like you kind of have black and white thinking where you make one kid like, this kid can do no wrong, and this kid is like the devil.
I was this kid.
You were that kid?
I was this kid right here. Yeah.
This hand?
I was
the little devil
right
in there?
Yeah.
Do you think one of your parents had it maybe?
I mean, it's funny because I don't know, but a lot of those characteristics from back in the day seem very similar and resonate. Okay. So maybe. Yeah.
And again, it's like, you never want to like self-diagnose anybody or whatever, but it's just, with kids, it's different and so painful. And my fiance's talked to me about his experience, and it's like, oh my God, my heart goes out to anybody who's gone through that. But yeah, romantically, it is really, really hard because they show you a side of them that you think like, oh my God, this is the greatest relationship I've ever been in. This feels so amazing. And then they just drop you. And it's like you're just always trying to get back to that person and keep it, and it's really, really hard, really impossible.
Chasing that heroin dragon over there.
I was an addict. I felt like an addict by the end of it, and my therapist.
It makes sense though. I've been in relationships like that. You're everything, and then you're nothing.
Nothing. You're dirt on the carpet.
Shit, loser. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll say that to you.
Yeah.
They'll say that to you.
Yeah, my therapist told me that. She was like, you should feel proud of yourself because I have clients who come in here who have been married to somebody with borderline for 40 years and they'll never leave. Like because they just can't, like they cannot get out of it. And, sometimes I feel like if I hadn't met my fiance when I did, I probably would have just kept going back. Yeah. Even though I knew at that point he had borderline, I would have been like, well, now I know. So now maybe I can like crack the code. Like I was trying so hard to make it work.
And you got borderline personality. I'm looking for somebody with some full-on personality disorder, not that borderline bullshit, okay? Full-on personality.
Don't dip your toe in, bitch.
Let's go head first into your PD.
Commit. Yeah. So that was my my relationship with my borderline ex, and I still to this day don't know if he knows he has it. I didn't ever tell him because I didn't know if that was like my place.
Have you continued to be a stranger?
I have continued to be a stranger.
Okay. What he asked you not to do.
Yeah.
What he asked you not to do.
I asked you explicitly.
I'm starting to wonder who the problem really is here. Okay.
I know. Oh, there we go. There's that manipulation. I have PTSD. I just run out of here crying.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. Yeah, which actually, I mean, that was like really heartbreaking for me to realize that I really couldn't have any sort of relationship with him after the fact. I could not have a friendship with him. It wasn't like any of my other exes where you could maintain contact and just, do a yearly happy birthday. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be like that.
Right.
So we have not spoken for like 8 years. I do wish him the best. I've obviously like had enough time and space now to be like, oh, I feel a lot of compassion for people that have BPD, and he went through some very hard things as a child that I think can trigger BPD later. And I mean, I have full compassion for him, and I'm sad for the things he's gone through. But it was also hard for me to be in a relationship with somebody who didn't know how to like not hurt the person they were with. Mm-hmm. So that was that. And then there was this other guy who I dated just very briefly, but like the way it ended was so like, holy shit. Look at you grabbing your tea. Sip that tea.
Spill some of that tea.
Spill some of that tea. So I dated this guy named Jeff briefly, and he had just gotten out of a relationship with this psycho chick named Tiffany. And Tiffany had been like arrested in a bar fight for like open hand slapping a chick and like knocking her unconscious.
Yeah.
Just like coming in like, Snooki Ray Rice.
You know who wouldn't take that? Teresa. Teresa wouldn't take that shit.
Teresa
will slap
take
the
out
shit.
them hoops.
Teresa will be like, that's all you got? Hang on a second here.
Snatch that hair. Yeah. Oh, you're so right. I feel like Tiffany was also a Teresa. Like had that same that tea quality in it. So she was. I had just heard kind of through the grapevine that she was a little crazy. She was a little cray. She was like a professional like BMX motocross girl.
What is going on? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah. So anyway.
And you're dating her ex, but real quick?
Like right after. I was definitely a rebound.
That?
Yeah.
You did.
I was definitely a rebound, and I like should have known that. But I mean, this didn't last very long anyway. But we had like gone on a few dates, and when we'd go on dates, she would call him like 38 times. Like he'd like leave his phone in like the car or whatever and come back, and it would be like 38 missed calls from Tiffany. So she was obviously very, very crazy. And one day I was texting with Jeff. This was maybe a month or two into seeing each other, and the responses I was getting back from Jeff in text didn't sound like him. Like there was like really poor grammar, and it just didn't sound like him. So eventually I said, hey, like, am I really texting with Jeff? And I got a response in text that said, no, this is his girl. He and I are trying to work things out, and I'd appreciate it if you never spoke to him again. And at that point I was like, what the fuck? Because in that moment I knew that Jeff had basically like kind of gone back to her in a way, like they were hanging out, and she had like stolen his phone and was texting as him. So I mean, like that brought out my inner crazy bitch.
Go. Yeah.
Stirred up my Teresa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Your inner Teresa?
Teresa tag teamed in.
Yeah. Hell
Kelsey sat down for a sec. Teresa came in. And
some of that Mama Kathy trauma too coming out. Yeah. All like a whole little package coming forward here. I got something for your ass. Let me bring this one.
Just brewing. Hot pot of coffee coming in. So I just decided at that point, like, well, fuck both of them then. I'm obviously I'm not going to keep seeing Jeff at this point, and fuck this chick for like texting on his behalf, all this. I'm going to burn this whole thing to the ground.
Jeffany. Jeffany. They're the couple.
So I'm going to burn this whole thing to the ground. So I sent a text back to Tiffany that said, haha, Kelly, you're so funny. you and Jeff and I should have another threesome soon.
Fuck yeah! I bet you Tiffany got on her dirt bike and like did a wheelie all the way to Jeff's house. Holding it up at the red lights. This mother.
Well, she was at Jeff's house because she had his phone. So
that doesn't mean she was at Jeff's house.
Oh,
she
that's a
could have
good point.
stole
Maybe
his
she took
fucking
it.
phone.
No, she was though, and I found out
Oh my
how.
God!
So,
what did you get back to that?
So because Tiffany looked at that and was like, "Who the fuck is Kelly?" So then my phone starts ringing, and it says Jeff's number. I do not answer it. Then I have a voicemail that's like 45 seconds long of just Tiffany crying. It's just her
Do you
crying.
think Jeff just held it there, or do you think she just
The speakerphone.
she just was like, I can't.
She's crying.
You
and
sure it wasn't the dirt bike going?
She's crying and she's saying why over and over. She's like, why? Why? Like,
What if Kelly's like her sister's name or something?
I know. Oh God, who knows?
Oh, it could have gone deeper. Yeah.
Just like crying, saying why over and over, like just sound like Nancy Kerrigan. It's like, why? My knee. And then at the end of the voicemail, you can hear Jeff come into the room, and you can hear his voice in the back kind of be like, what's going on? Is that my phone? And then you hear her scream and what sounds like the phone like being thrown and shattering.
Do you still have this voice?
I don't. It was on like an old, this was
God.
like maybe a decade ago. So it was on like flip phone. I mean, I don't still have it. But yeah, that was, those are a couple of my like experiences before I met my fiance.
Hey, that's a great way to fucking go out of that relationship. My God.
Yeah,
that
flames.
is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Kelly.
Right? Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks.
I love that shit.
Thanks.
I love it's taken me a while to like not be so reactionary, because if you can really just take a breath, you can be so much smarter and and more creative and more damaging and hurtful, which is really what you want to do.
100%.
Then you can just by going, well, fuck you. There's way more. Let me just take a deep
breath. Like with hecklers, like if you just like compose yourself for a second and then just fucking sniper, just so much better. It's like, what? It's different. But yeah, I feel like it taught me what kind of like crazy I am, because she was like Jersey Shore crazy. And I feel like I learned that I'm more like M. Night Shyamalan movie crazy. You know what I mean?
There are different kinds of crazies. You're right
I'll
about
haunt
that.
your fucking dreams.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more like psychological.
Yeah, I'd rather know that shit's right here in my face than be like, what's that? What's that?
Yeah.
I don't like that scared.
That's me.
Okay, so you're getting married here in a few weeks.
Yes.
Do you think when your dad gets up to do his speech, you think he'll do some slam poetry at the wedding?
That's not allowed.
Will you let him? Have you told him?
He's not doing the toast. And I love him so much, but
Would
I just
he do that if you let him?
When my stepsister got married, he read one of his poems. They had him read.
Everybody's out there in the wedding doing this shit.
They had him
Everybody else is clanking. He's like,
hey.
We don't clank glasses at these weddings, all right?
Yeah, he read one of his like animal love poems or whatever about like two hippopotamuses falling in love or something like. It's so weird. He's either like so Disney G-rated or like pantomiming fucking somebody. It's like one or the other. But no, I'm not gonna have him do a toast as much. I don't know why. Maybe I should have him do a toast, but I just wasn't gonna. But yeah. So he'll be there.
He'll be there.
He'll be there. Yo-yoing.
He'll be ready to. If you're like, Dad, of course. I'll put the glasses on. Yeah. Which one you want? I got 4 of them I can do.
Yeah, be walking me down the aisle and then like walking the dog with a yo-yo in the other hand down the aisle. God.
Hooking you on here like around the world.
Around the world, baby.
Reach out, pull it back. Reach out, pull it back.
Oh my God.
That's a Duncan from Japan. Is that his yo-yo choice? I know Duncans with the little. Aren't they the ones with the butterflies?
The butterfly.
Yeah.
Look at you. You can roll on these yo-yo streets.
I mean, look, my dad gave us yo-yos early and got us. He was like, just get a Duncan, because everything else just started turning sideways and wrapping. You get one at like Burger King or some bullshit.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
But yeah, when I tried to do, like, I could get what's the one where you let it rolls for a while and you pop it and it comes back up. What's that called? Is that walking the dog?
What are those called? I can't remember.
Walking the dog is the one where you grab it and it flips through. I don't know the fucking trick.
Yeah, I have some videos of my dad. I know the names,
and I cannot. It should make a game out of it. Which name goes with this yo-yo trick? Yeah.
Yeah, my dad would be disappointed in me right now, but yeah, I don't remember.
So something I ask everybody about before they come here, and you struck me with irritable bowel. So you have IBS.
I have IBS.
But you make a face about it like you've got it in a way that's like real.
It really is like everything. It's an emergency. There's never any warning for me when I have to shit. Like I feel
it's just like now.
I'm in like the produce aisle of the grocery store, and then my butthole's like, release the Kraken. I'm like, oh Christ! Like
no, hold the Kraken. Hold the
Kraken. It's like it scares me. Like it. There's never any sort of leeway. Like when you have to go, do you feel like you have maybe like a 20 to 30 minute window? Like you feel it kind of coming?
Yeah, but it also depends on different things I eat, which I've learned are food allergies. I just thought,
okay.
Like, so if I have something like when you eat sushi and you get that hot mayonnaise on top.
Forget about it.
I'll still be eating the sushi and be like, I think I'm going to go take a shit and I'm going to come back and finish this spicy tuna roll.
I actually wore a diaper this time.
Yeah, that's the way it'll hit. Yeah. Certain foods will hit me like that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
but not like you where you've had something and then you're just walking around and boom. I'll be like, I'll get that little, let me see who's here, you know.
Get a little, like a Google alert.
I'm expecting a package.
yeah, it's coming. So yeah, my fiance and I, we've always lived in an apartment that only has one bathroom. And so one of the fights that we've had over and over is because he takes 45-minute man shits. And I don't know if this is something that you do too, if this is like all guys.
That's my only.
That's your wheelhouse.
When I live with my daughter's mother, she's like, what are you doing in there? And I would just be like, nothing. I'm just peace and quiet in here right now. I put that fan. She's like, I hate that fan. I'm like, I love that fan.
I love that fan.
Because I can't hear you say shit like I hate that fan.
That fan's my friend.
My legs go numb and I get up and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know if I'll get feeling back in these. This one feels deep. Yeah.
Your butthole's completely dry out.
Yeah.
It's like a craisin back there. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't experienced this. Not a raisin, a craisin. Specific.
Very specific.
Very specific.
They're a little red, so you're
Underrated. Thank you. So, not enough. Yeah. So, I hadn't lived with a guy before, so I just didn't know if this was normal or whatever. And I asked him, I was like, why does it take you so long to do that? And he was like, well, my doctor told me that it's bad to push, so I don't push. I just sit and I let it fall out. And I was like, what are you, a geisha? Like, what are you trying to take these like little dainty, shits for? I just feel like, fucking hold on to something, fire it out, get the fuck out of there.
Hit it and quit it. I'm out.
We gotta go to Costco. There's shit to be done today. And so Literally.
A lot
of it from my end.
From all different places and at restrooms and everything.
Exactly. So this was only like maybe 4 months ago. We were in our apartment and he went into the bathroom for one of his sessions. And I knew it was going to be one because he locked the door, which like when I hear that, like he only does that for number 2, which is just funny to me. I don't like know why he thinks some like weary traveler's going to be like, go on
Try to get in while you're shitting. Yeah. Like, what are you doing in my home? Yeah. Just looking for the bathroom.
Yeah. So he locks the door, which basically also ensures like that I have no access to it. So he was maybe like 20 minutes into his usual 45 minutes when I started to feel some fireworks. And I was like, oh no. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I'm about to shit my pants.
I'm about to shit in the kitchen sink.
Dude, that's so funny you say that because that was like honestly going to be one of my.
Where else would you go?
I know.
You
Okay. So
I'm with you on that. By the way,
get ready.
I mean, I'd moved the next day.
Get ready. Yeah.
I don't blame you.
You got to burn that place to the ground after that.
Down.
No amount of bleach will clean that. So I send it to him and he doesn't respond. Like I can hear his phone get my text and I hear him just like continue to watch Arrested Development. I'm like, fucking asshole. So now I'm faced with reality. Like I don't have access to a toilet and I've got some demons coming down the chute, like apocalypse survival mode. So then I start frantically looking around our tiny like 1-bedroom apartment for a substitute toilet. And the first thing I saw was the kitchen sink. But then I like right away, I was like, too high. like, it's just like, that's a lot of gymnastics that I'm not qualified for. So I was like, okay,
especially when you're about to shit yourself.
Shit yourself.
This push right here. This little hop up right here. Like, God damn it.
For sure.
Let me just clean my underwear in the sink now.
Let me just turn this around. So I was like, okay, that's a no. Then I saw my fiance's Boston Red Sox hat. And I was like, like emotionally.
Touche.
Emotionally, I would like to soft serve him some Piping Hot Justice. This feels appropriate.
I love you said soft serve. I'm going to tell you something after this.
But then finally I saw, like, in the corner of the living room, there was an empty cardboard Sephora box. Do you know the store Sephora? It's like a makeup store. Okay. So I was like, this is as good as it's going to get. And so I, in the middle of my living room at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, dropped my pants and fucking...
You shit in a Sephora?
Full bowel movement. Full shit. Into a Sephora box. And also what you forget, like you don't think about when you're like going number 2, is that you usually like pee a little bit too. So I pooped, also like peed a little, like just like down my legs on the floor.
Are you crying?
I'm so upset.
I would be crying if I'm traumatized in a Sephora box.
As it's happening, my cats walk.
By the way, they're a sponsor of the show.
They're sponsored great.
They're never going to be a sponsor of this motherfucker.
I know. I'm fucking ruining their store so badly. So we have 3 cats. As I'm like crouched in the living room shitting, all of our cats walk up to me and they kind of are like, they just had this look, because what I was doing is so primal. I don't think they've ever seen me just like squat and shit like that. And they kind of just were looking at me like, oh, you are one of us. Just like, no, like this is, like, thanks for not doing that in our fucking box. And which now I realize, I'm like, why didn't I just shit in the litter box? Like that's like, I should have.
You should have shit in the litter box.
I grabbed this Sephora box. And so, and it was like.
What the fuck you feeding these cats, man? God damn.
It was
There's corn in that right there, man. Your cats eat corn? Ah, damn.
They hit that Gelson's Deli. What are they doing? Like corn pasta salad? What is this? So
9 Lives got corn in their fucking food, man.
And the other thing you forget about when you shit in a toilet is that it submerges in water.
Yes.
But when you take a human shit in a box in the middle of summer in a 1-bedroom apartment, it's immediate. It immediately fills up that space. And so I'm crying a little bit. I'm like wiping with like a paper towel. I'm like trying to like clean up my mess. And then I boxed it back up to try and like transport it out to the dumpster. And like, as I was about to walk out with it, that's when my fiance came out of the bathroom. And I mean, I immediately was hit with the smell of it, but then just like looked at me and was like, what happened out here? Oh my God. Like he was kind of in shock. And then I was just looking at him with tears in my eyes, holding this box. And I was like, I shit in this box. Like I'm holding my shit right now. And he's like, what? Like this is my shit in here. You made me shit in this box. I had nowhere to go. I had to shit in here. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? Your shit is in that? Like he was so grossed out. And then it kind of made me happy that he was grossed out, and I started to like almost like fake like chase him with it. And he was like, go fuck away. And then I did take it out to the dumpster. But I mean, if you walked by my apartment that day, every window was open. Like, I mean, fans blowing. It was horrible.
I would have got you like a $500 gift certificate at Sephora. For real.
And he's the reason it happened. Like I was pissed at him. And I tell the story on stage now, but I changed it to an Amazon box because I feel like not everybody knows what Sephora is. And I like pretend like he was like, oh, did my PlayStation controller come? Like he didn't realize I had shit into a box, and I like give it to him. But the real story is that like, yeah, it was a Sephora box, and he just came out when I had it in my hand. I was like, my shit's in it. I shit in it.
You have to tell him.
I had to poop in here. I'm like an old homeless man. You made me poop in a box in our living room. Fuck you. Fuck you. So mad.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
Well, that is quite a way to go out on this podcast, I have to say.
Man.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
for being so goddamn open.
Oh, always. I got
so
nothing to hide.
Will you please one more time plug whatever you'd like?
Yeah. So follow me on Instagram. It's at Kelsey Cook Comedy. Twitter's at Kelsey Cook. Website is kelseycook.com for tour dates. And then subscribe to the Self-Helpless Podcast. Go watch Wrists of Fury on All Things Comedy on YouTube. I mean, it's so fun. Like, I'm coming eventually. We're going to line up. Eventually our schedules will line up. I'm coming. Ryan was like one of my first guests on the list of like, I need to have Ryan on.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Go check that out. And you can watch our old episode of Stand-Ups Doing Makeup as well.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you. Thank you for coming on. I'm Ryan Sickler on all social media, ryansickler.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.